Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, you just can't stop yourself from doing things you know aren't good for you? What if I told you there's an Islamic story that holds the key to unlocking self-control and freeing yourself from the habits that hold you back? Keep watching to find out how to turn things around. In today's digital world, we're constantly surrounded by distractions and temptations. We know we should resist certain things, like bad habits or even negative thoughts, but we just can't seem to find the willpower. Many of us struggle with self-control, but it's not just a modern issue. People have always faced this challenge. Today, I'm going to share a powerful story from Islamic history that shows how to overcome the struggle for self-control. Think about how many times you've promised yourself to change a habit, only to fall back into it just days or even hours later. Maybe it's scrolling through your phone late at night, even though you know it's affecting your sleep. Or perhaps it's letting anger get the best of you in difficult situations. Whatever the struggle, it can feel almost impossible to stop ourselves, as if something else is in control. But here's the thing, Islam teaches us that self-control isn't just about willpower. There's a deeper, spiritual reason behind why we struggle. The story I'm about to share is going to shed some light on this and offer a solution that's both simple and profound. Let's go back to the time of Umar ibn Khattab, one of the closest companions of Prophet Muhammad and the second caliph of Islam. Umar was known for his strength, both physically and in his faith. But what most people don't know is that even he struggled with self-control at times. Once, Umar came across a group of young men who were laughing loudly and talking without purpose. Feeling annoyed, he asked them, "What makes you laugh like this?" They immediately became quiet, realizing that Umar was teaching them a lesson about restraint. But here's where the story takes a turn. Umar didn't just tell others to control themselves. He constantly worked on his own discipline. One day, he was craving meat, a rare treat in those times. But when he went to buy it, he stopped himself. He said, "How can I satisfy every desire I have? What if I can't control myself tomorrow?" He was teaching himself that if he gave in to every whim, he'd never truly be in control. His example teaches us that self-control isn't just about resisting bad habits, it's about being mindful of all desires, big or small. Let's learn to have self-control in these 3 upcoming chapters. Chapter 1. The root cause of lack of self-control, our desires and nafs. Islam teaches us that our struggles with self-control come from within, from something called the nafs, our inner self, which includes our desires and urges. The nafs can be compared to a wild horse. If we don't rein it in, it will lead us wherever it wants, often to places that aren't good for us. In the Quran, Allah mentions different levels of the nafs. The lowest is nafs al-amra, the self that commands evil. It's that voice in your head that says, "Just one more hour on your phone," or "It's okay to skip prayers today." If we're not careful, this part of ourselves can take over, making us feel like we're not even in control of our own actions. Chapter 2. Practical steps to develop self-control, inspired by Umar's example. So, how do we actually develop self-control? Let's look at what we can learn from Umar. Step 1. Start with small restraints. One of the most effective ways to build self-control is to practice saying no, even to small desires. Umar refrained from buying meat simply because he wanted to teach himself discipline. You can do this by choosing one small thing each day to resist, like that extra piece of dessert or scrolling for an extra 5 minutes. It may seem small, but these small victories build up your self-control muscle over time. Step 2. Reflect and seek Allah's help. Self-control is hard, and that's why we need Allah's guidance. When you're struggling, take a moment to make a short dua, asking Allah to give you strength over your desires. Something as simple as saying, "Oh Allah, help me control my nafs," can be incredibly powerful. Remember that Allah is always there to help those who sincerely want to improve. Step 3. Remember the bigger purpose. Umar knew that self-control was key to staying close to Allah and fulfilling his purpose in life. Every time you resist a temptation, remind yourself that it's bringing you closer to becoming the person Allah wants you to be. This is more than just about habits, it's about who you are at your core. Chapter 3. Building self-control as an act of worship. When we think of worship, we usually think of prayer, fasting, or reading Quran. But did you know that self-control itself is a form of worship? Every time you resist a temptation for the sake of Allah, you're earning reward. There's a hadith where Prophet Muhammad said, "The strong one is not the one who can wrestle others, but the one who can control himself when angry." This isn't just about anger, it's about every moment we choose self-control over giving in to our impulses. Imagine this, each time you hold back from something you know isn't good for you, you're doing an act of worship. Whether it's resisting gossip, staying patient in traffic, or stopping yourself from eating something unhealthy, each act of self-control brings you closer to Allah. Why self-control matters to your faith? Self-control is not just a nice skill to have, it's a fundamental part of our faith. Without it, our relationship with Allah weakens because we're constantly pulled away by worldly distractions. Remember, the struggle with self-control is ongoing, but it's a journey worth taking. Each day, ask yourself, am I following my nafs, or am I following Allah's guidance? The story of Umar R.A. teaches us that even the best of people struggle, but it's in that struggle that we find growth. When we work on self-control, we're not just improving ourselves, we're becoming closer to Allah, fulfilling our purpose, and setting an example for others. So, why do we struggle with self-control? It's because our nafs is strong, and the world is full of temptations. But Islam teaches us that self-control is possible, and it's one of the greatest forms of worship. By following the example of Umar, we learn that even small acts of restraint can make a big difference. Self-control isn't just about saying no to things, it's about saying yes to what truly matters. The next time you feel that urge to give in to a desire or bad habit, remember Umar and his lesson. With each choice, you're not just gaining control, you're gaining a closer relationship with Allah. If you found this video inspiring, hit subscribe and keep learning with us.